Welcome to today's intention. Today we're going to talk about the technique and the player. We normally want that the technique change the player. The technique give you the opportunity to the player to play. This is the normal way that we all the academies in the world try to make. Technique change the player and the player can create the game. But this is the opposite of what the transformation of the player is going to be. Why? Because you can give a lot of information by the technique, but the player doesn't know exactly, even if they know for what is this element, this correction, they don't know exactly how to use it. And because they don't have the reason, because it's something external that try to change something internal. And this is the problem, because every time that the player arrives to a training or a play, you always want, say, comments and information and corrections and advices and everything. But you're not taking care of the person. This is the problem. The person is who make the game, not the technique. But if you put the attention on the player, maybe all that information can be possible by the experience that he has or she has. For example, an example, the player has to be forehand cross, and then they have to go. You say that technically they have to go more inside to pass the hand. For example, you as a coach, you want that this player do that thing, okay? And normally you say that comment, and then the player has to do it, but they don't know why. They just do it because the coach says. That's it. Simple. Okay. And like this, another correction, another correction, another correction. So a mess completely. Why? But because you believe more in the technique than in the player. Just like that. Okay, let's do the opposite. You want that the player go more inside to get the cross ball and pass ahead. You as a coach has that idea in mind. Okay. How about if I go more the input by the intention, by the focus, by the action? I don't talk about the technique. I just say, bound and hit, bound and hit, bound and hit. Don't wait too much, and then something happened, and maybe that I'm making an example. Maybe that advice is better than say pass the hand and lean here and transfer, because the player now is experimenting something that they need to do it. Not because the other one says we are taking care of the player. We believe in the player, and the player can recreate the game by themselves, not by information, but something external. That is the problem. That's why the technique never give you the possibility to play, because you are not taking care of the player. The player is the most important. But if you take care of the player, then the technique is going to happen, not because you say it, because they need it. That is the difference. That's why we have to leave completely the correction by the technique, and we have to get the intention and the focus and the action to make that technique. But the thing is, we are putting in a first place the player, because the player is the most important thing, because the player is who create the energy, not the technique. The technique doesn't create the energy. The person make a movement close by the technique, because we are taking care of this. There is something internal that goes external, not something external like the technique that is going to change the player. The players just make changes when they need it, not because someone says that is like this, because those words doesn't make sense in that moment, because it's information. Information is a experience of the other person, not from them. The player can get experience different from the other ones. But if you are focused on what the other people do and not in the thing that you can do as a player, it's impossible to achieve the game. So we have to leave the technique to believing in that the technique is going to change the game of the player. No. The only thing that changes really the game of a player is the intention, the action, the focus. Why? Because this thing is going to do the same that you say in a way, technically way, but in a different way, because now it's something that the player needs. If you correct by the intention, it's something that the players do because they need it, not because someone says. That is the problem. So it means that technique never bring into the game. The player, the intention, bring into the game. Why? Because it's a movement that the player needs in this moment. And then they release it because makes sense for them. Like this. Technique is not the game. Intention is the game. Why? Because we are believing not in the technique. We are believing now in the player. That is the natural way. Something inside that goes inside. A flower come from the ground and go up. Never is a flower and then go down. It's the opposite process. This is like the technique. A flower wants to make grow up another plant. It's not possible. So here is this. Technique never brings you into the game. The intention brings you into the game. Why? Because we are talking about the player, the most important element in the core. Because this player is the person who make the game, who release the energy. So I hope you like this video, and we'll see you soon. Bye.